Good morning, Guardians. Hope you're doing well. Today's episode of Tools of Destiny, we are covering Loadout Optimizer in DIM. So this is quite an old tool. It's been around for a while. You may well have used it, but it's had so many improvements over time. It is definitely worth taking another look. There's a whole bunch of extra stuff you can do with those loadouts. We're just going to talk about the basics, what the various bits mean, and where we're at. So let's jump into the tool now. Obviously, you can pick which character you're on. Maybe you only main one character, but maybe you don't. So I'm going to be playing around with my Warlock. It's got the little triangle to indicate it was the last one I used. And then we have the 6 basic stats. Now, this is my Warlock, so quite clearly, recovery, I want up the top. I mean, I probably want it pretty high for everyone. I would put Intellect below Strength and Discipline at the moment. And this is basically how important it ranks them. So on the right here, you're going to have everything that meets your requirements, essentially. And it's going to give you just a list of all of the armor options you have that would meet your requirements or, you know, work with what you've suggested on the left. And it'll give you a score. So this score here is a total of all of the numbers you have against them. And I don't know if you know this or not, but it doesn't matter if you are strength 99, you are effectively strength 90. It is to the nearest 10, it rounds down, and you have to go over the limits. So what this will do is it will also try and make sure that you're as close to the limit as possible, because 99 is essentially a wasted stat. That's 9 wasted out of your total. So there's other things you can do here. So there's the min-max. This is where you say, look, I need my recovery to be at least 8. And you saw some of those change. It got to my second preferential option because the recovery wasn't high enough. If we bring this back to 0, it's a 7. So you can filter them. The more you filter, you may eventually look. Let's say I want 10. I want 10, and I want. Oh no, that's not happening. So if you try and be too aggressive with your filtering, you will end up with nothing. Scale it back a bit, and it'll show you what you've got. So we've got Lock Element and Assume Masterwork. Lock Element, I imagine they're probably going to work on this soon because actually this one locks it just for Masterwork and this one locks it for everything. You probably only want one or the other because these days, if it's Masterworked, you can switch element pretty cheap. It used to be that was the most expensive option, but now it's not. And the second thing is, are you going to masterwork stuff? If you masterwork nothing, these are the scores you can get. If you masterwork it, it will start to bring stuff up. So this is legendary only, so I'm not going to be spending those 3 Ascendant shards, but I will be spending 2. And this is masterwork everything, so these become the best options. You can then select an exotic. So I'm making a build with, let's say, Nezarec Sin. It will lock that in place. You can select your mods, and that will basically, some of those mods obviously may have an impact. Some of them may not, but it also shows you where things are. So if I've got let's pick something that has a stasis siphon. So stasis siphon has to be on the head. It's then going to suggest here taking my Nezarec Sin and moving it over to stasis, because otherwise I can't make this build. So you can put in those mods, become quite useful. We'll talk more about mod management in the loadouts later. You can also select subclass. The main reason for like doing that, as you can see, it's all the 3s, Stasis and Void 3.0. And the reason being because if you customize that subclass, some of these will actually change the stats on your armor. So let's pick some randoms. There we go. And because of those, it's actually changed those numbers up. And it may change what piece of armor you've got, because it might be more preferential to use some other ones there. You can pin items. You can pin what you've got equipped currently. You can muck around with these. And it basically gives you a big, long list. There's loads of things you can do in terms of saving them, comparing them to others. But the easiest thing is you click Equip, and then it puts it onto your character, including those mods, including those subclass elements and customizations. And that's a great way to try it out, have a play around, and then maybe you decide you want to save it. We'll talk about saving it. We'll talk about mods later. This is just the basics. If you have looked at this before, have a look again. It's a lot more feature-rich than it used to be. And if you haven't, it's a great way to play around and see what the armors are, because it will maximize. You see here, like 73, that's maximum 4 wasted, 5 wasted, just 5 wasted. That you would spend a long time getting that by going through your armor. Hopefully you found this episode interesting. I'm going to make this part of a series. So this is part 1 of DIM loadouts. And I will see you in the next episode.